Good morning, gang. Good afternoon, good evening, good night, depending on where you are watching this in the world. Welcome back to this week's altcoin update. First and foremost, remember nothing discussed today is financial advice. It's just for educational purposes only. And now we've got that out of the way. Let's take a deep dive into some altcoin charts, shall we? So today's requests have been VELO, DOT, NXRA and ETH. So we will take a deep dive on these altcoin charts, see if we can find any setups and some sticky zones that we can trade with him. Now, before we get into that, first and foremost, huge shout out to Prime XBT. If you guys don't know, we are partnered with Prime and we trade on this platform. They are an exchange where you can not only trade crypto, but you can also trade FX, commodities and stock indices. And if you do want to check them out, use our link down in the description and you can get up to a 7,000 USDT deposit bonus. Now, the beauty of these guys is they are non-KYC and you can also use crypto as collateral when trading alternative traditional markets like FX, stocks and commodities. Okay, so once again, big thanks to Prime XBT. Now, moving on. VELO. Now we can see here, this chart. Now, this is the first chart that I could find that goes as far back as it does, and this is going back to March 21. Now, since this coin was being released, it's pretty much been down only. Not the most handsome looking chart, to be honest. However, if you want to trade it, then so be it. Now, looking at this, first thing to do, as you guys know, is let's throw in a range. So right now, we've got a low and we've got a high. And we are currently sat within, snap this on, within this range. Okay. So that's first thing to note. So let's talk about upside and downside. And we're going to keep this really simple. If price continues to meander up. Now, bear in mind, locally, again, we're looking on the daily chart here. We are still making higher highs and higher lows. Okay? We are still in a local uptrend. So if we are to continue this local uptrend and continue up to range highs, this would be a major area of interest. Now, this is coming in roughly around 15 cents for easy numbers. Up at this zone here, if you are long from lower, this would be a take profit for me personally, because you run the risk of running these stops and having a potential hedge position. Now, does this mean that this hedge position would roll over fully to brand new lows? No, because once again, you've got to take into consideration you are in a strong local uptrend. Okay, so any shorts are against the trend. Now, don't get me wrong, the macro trend is still pointing down. Okay, but the local trend is still pointing up. So it's all right to short against the trend. However, you need to know when to get a take profit one and then move your stops to entry. That way, if you do get a position like this, bear in mind, if you don't see any weakness, there's no short trade. But if you do see some weakness, then you might see price coming down, but then it could quite quickly just stop you out and continue the uptrend. So therefore, that's why it's extremely important to lock in a take profit one, stops to entry, and then that way, if it does stop you out, you're still guaranteed to win. Okay, it's all about locking in those profits. Now, don't forget the rest of the market is extremely bullish. So if you don't get any weakness there, then there's no hedge position to be had. Okay, if it does come up higher, then you've got all this to contend with. Okay, so the easiest thing I can use to explain this is this project since release. Bear in mind, if this is the release of the project, but there might be charts that go back further, someone will have to let me know down in the comments. But anyone that's been a bag holder of this and that's been buying the dip, because their favorite influencer has been paid to tell them to buy the dip, they're going to be massively underwater. And I mean massively underwater. Bear in mind, from this top range here to where we are currently, that's 97%. 97%. Okay, huge drop. So anyone that's been bag holding and buying the dip down here, and they've got these diamond hands or whatever they want to call themselves, is probably going to want to get out of this position. So if we do start to flip these range high and meander up, okay, we could move through this area fairly quickly, but likely is it's going to be quite wicky. So what you'll see is you'll see a big spike up and then a big sell off, and then some more grinding action, and then a spike up and then a sell off. And you will start to see some real wicky price action within this. And all it is anyone that's bag holding, and that's been bag holding for quite some time. Bear in mind, if we just use this halfway marker here to where we are right now, they've been underwater for 750 days. It's a long time to be sat underwater, especially when other altcoins and other projects are pumping like hell. Okay, just a bad bet. So people are going to want to get out of positions. Not everyone. That's what you'll see within this. You know, very similar to how XRP spikes. If you guys don't understand that, go look at an XRP chart. Every time it gets a significant pump, it gets a very big retrace because there's bag holders that are underwater. Okay. So realistically, you're probably going to see that wiki price action on the way up. Okay. On the way up. And then what you're looking for then is to clear all this and get back into what is effectively the original range. So if you can get back into that original range, now let's do an extended. In fact, let's just draw it properly, shall we? Let's stop being lazy spit. There's the original range. Let's clear up some of this. Clear up some of this. If we can make our way back up here, now bear in mind, this is a big distance. To get back up to this, that's 4,000% just to get back up to that range low. And I get acceptance back into this range low, and we are just back to trade in this range. Okay? Eventually, one side will break. We're not here to forecast and predict what side's going to break. We'll just trade what the charts give us. But then again, it's quite a distance to move to get to that level. Okay. But by this point, you'd hope that the wiki price action settles down. Okay. It might not be a wiki price action. It may just go in a straight line. We don't know. Okay. I'm just speaking from experience, what you see with charts like this. Bear in mind, I've been around a very, very long time now. Now, what happens if we don't get out of the range and we continue this range? Well, realistically, first and foremost, we can do two fib pulls. We can do an internal fib pull based on where we are right now. And we can do a fib pull from the absolute lows up to this current high. Okay. Now, that really doesn't give us anything. It doesn't help us at all. Okay. This one does. So if we start locally to meander down and this golden pocket gives us some form of strength, then we've maybe got a long opportunity. And that long opportunity, first and foremost, you'll be targeting these highs. And if it starts to clear above those, then we can start looking at these overall highs. Now, if this golden pocket doesn't hold, and we start to meander down lower, then first and foremost, I will be looking at these lows to be taken and contested. Now, if you get a sign of strength on the back of that, great, cool, happy days. We've got some long triggers. If we don't get that, then realistically, we're looking back down at range lows. And if we do come back down to range lows, which would be my preference for a setup, not saying I'm expecting it to come down here. What I'm saying is it would be my preference for a setup. Because if we do come back down to these range lows and take out these lows, come down, spend a bit of time below, reclaim, then start to see that strength, then there's a long trigger. Because then you've cleared out all the stops from down here. Anyone that's longed within any of this move that's using this, put their invalidation, clear out all the stops, and then you've got a much better long entry. And that long entry then, targeting back up towards EQ, targeting back up towards range high, and then you can look to see if you break out or not. Okay, that's the upside, that's the downside. Fairly straightforward is that chart. Okay, not the best of looking charts, I'll be honest, especially throughout this territory here, but it is what it is. Next, DOT. Now, DOT, as you guys know, if you've been watching us for a while, we nailed this low at the time, and obviously this was a call that we did in the members. I think when price action was back here from memory, and obviously we're still maintaining this uptrend. Okay, so high highs, high lows, high highs, high lows. We're in an uptrend, still in an uptrend. Let's talk about upside first. So first and foremost, let's throw on a fib from this intermediate high. Bear in mind, not the all-time high, this intermediate high here to the low. We can see a golden pocket. Let's also throw on a volume profile in this top section of price action. Bear in mind, this is just one big top range. In fact, let's make this really clear for you guys, and you can see this. Just one big range. Okay, right now, we're testing the bottom of it. From there, we'll do a volume profile in the top section. And you can see here straight away, if we can hold within this and continue up, then I will be looking up at this golden pocket. Now we've got a point of control here. We've got the golden pocket. Now by golden pocket, it's not just the 618 to the 65. For me, this goes all the way up to the 786. This is a major zone. This is a major zone to be aware of. So if we do get up to this level, or should I say if and when we get up to this level, then this would be a great place to skim some profits and potentially for a hedge position. Potentially. if the setup's given. If it's not given, then there's no hedge position. Okay, so this is something where people go wrong. People want like these real hard and fast rules that, oh yeah, I'm just going to set some limit sells up here, and I'm gonna sell this. Well, what happens if it comes up here and it just continues up? Okay, this is why you got to have patience. You got to have wait. You got to wait to see what price develops. Okay, if you start ranging here and still continuing to make higher highs and higher lows, there's no short trigger. So what's the point in losing 1R just as a complete gamble? Okay, so you wait, you have some patience. Now, if we can flip this zone and we don't get a pullback within here, then the next one I will be looking for is this high around the top macro EQ. Okay, so this would be my next sticky zone to pay attention to. Okay, if you get no reaction there, then we can start looking at higher prices. By higher prices, we can do a fib from the absolute high to the absolute low. Okay, now it looks a little bit odd, by the way, on this chart because I'm looking at it on log scale, but these fibs are based on linear scale. Okay, but if we can flip this zone, so first and foremost, if we flip this 16-17 zone, then flip this zone, then we can start looking at this macro golden pocket. Now, this macro golden pocket we can't ignore. This is coming in around 36 up to 40 region, but you can also see it lines up with value area high as well. So we've got confluence in this zone. Now, only if we start to flip this zone here can we start talking about the macro range highs, and up here, more realistically, we're going to start talking about contesting the overall highs. Okay, so that's quite simple to the upside. It's quite simple. Once again, the whole market is in a very strong uptrend. It really wouldn't surprise me if we do continue meandering up. However, where we are right now, looking at this on a daily chart, but I long right now, no. I zoom into a lower time frame and we start to see some acceptance into that, maybe, but it's not my kind of play. Okay, I really don't want to be trading this. I'd much prefer to take the counter trade of this if a setup was given, but once again, I'm not really looking for that. Now, if we do reject where we are right now, bear in mind we might not get acceptance and we start coming back down lower. Okay, we can still maintain this uptrend. Do a fib from this pivot up to the current high, and we can see here the golden pocket sitting on that range high. So if we do roll down and come into this zone here, now bear in mind we can wick below back into the range. That's absolutely fine. You just don't want to see acceptance in there. But if we do come down to this range high and get a bounce, then realistically all we've got is we've got a breakout, a back test, and then a push up higher. So if we see some strength in this zone here, then we can look for higher prices. Now, if you're bullish and you are a major bull, then you don't want to see acceptance back into here, because if you see acceptance back into here, then realistically, I'm going to be targeting these lows into that EQ. Okay, grabbing the liquidity, any of the stop losses, anyone that's long this entire uptrend here, stop losses below this low. So if you start to see this come down, grab some liquidity, and then show some strength, then we've got long triggers. If that doesn't give us anything and we start coming back below this consolidation, then once again, range lows. Okay, and we just continue this macro range. It's absolutely fine. Macro ranges are a blessing. Very easy to trade, very clear, defined SR levels. Okay, but based on how this happened, bear in mind, range low, range high, range low, EQ, deviation. Okay, there's your potential spring. Then ideally, you don't want it coming back down there. Okay, you want it to stay outside of this range and continue meandering up. But we trade what we're given, not what we're trying to predict with a crystal ball. Okay, next. NXRA. Now, before we get into this, if you do want to learn how to trade like us and catch moves like DOT, as our example just shown, come over to our website. As you guys will see, we have had a bit of a rebrand on the website with our logos, and now this is what the website looks like. Now from here you can have a bit of a look at what we do, and within this now you can actually start to see some of the modules that we have within the course. So on here right now you've got all the order flow modules, so you can actually see the stuff that we teach. So order flow to a lot of people scares you. Now you can use order flow on alts, on Bitcoin, across all markets. Now the beauty of it is it scares people because it's very complex, but I explain this in a way that makes it really simple to understand, and how you can actually use this to find when people are offside, when to go for the reverse trade, okay, or when to continue with the same trend. Okay, so we've got this, there's hundreds of other modules on here. So obviously check all that out. And obviously if you do want to join us, then it'll cost you the grand old price of 79 Great British pounds per month. Now, obviously if you join us and you don't like it, then you cancel it. You're not wasting hundreds and hundreds of pounds to test something out. So, and obviously if you do want to stick with us, then stick with us. Happy days. Cool. We also accept crypto payments, by the way, but you just need to come into our Discord server, which there's a link right here. Okay. So, next, NXRA. Now, I'll be honest, hold my hands up. I've never heard of this. I have no idea what it is. It's looking in an uptrend right now. Effectively, we've got two quite clear ranges, and I reckon if we throw a volume profile on this, we've got two major sticky zones. Let's see if it can update. Yep, there we go. Quite simply, we've got one sticky zone, we've got two sticky zones. Very simple to see stuff like this. Now, currently we're rejecting where we are. Now, likelihood is that some sort of golden pocket. Yep, there we go. So we're rejecting within the local golden pocket here. Okay. Now, let's talk about upside first. If we do manage to turn this around from where we are right now and start to reclaim this 786 region, okay, bear in mind we do have a wick there on the daily. If we can manage to flip this and continue up, then you can start looking at contesting all-time highs and likely higher. Okay, in the first pass, chances are you're going to swing, fail it, come back down, and then you'll be looking to see if it continues with the strength. Okay, I wouldn't be buying a breakout. Breakout's just a bad way of trading. It makes no sense. Okay. Now, what happens if it comes down lower? Well, if it comes down lower, first and foremost, we can do the flip golden pocket. Now you can see here, we've got this point of control down here. Now, bear in mind, this data is based on MEXC. Each exchange is going to be completely different, but you can see here on the volume profile, we've got one spike here and one spike here. So both of these are high volume nodes regardless. So you've got the golden pocket here, and then you've got 786 down here. So this whole zone would be of interest. So if you do meander down into this zone and then start to see some local strength, then there's potentially a long trigger. A long trigger, first and foremost, you're going to be contesting these highs. Then you're going to be contesting these highs if you can continue this uptrend. Now, if this doesn't hold, then we're going to start looking at lower prices. First and foremost, in this consolidation here, there is some volume. So you could have the opportunity to come back down here. Now, this level, you'd be talking about, what, 9 cents for easy numbers? But if that gave you nothing, then my preference would be coming back down towards this value area low slash, call it 6 cents for easy numbers. This whole zone, that would be my preference for looking for new longs. That zone within there is a strong region. You can see here, high volume node, near as damn it equal to where we are right now. So if we do come down there and start to see some local strength, then there'll be a long trigger. And if that doesn't give you anything at all, then realistically you're looking all the way back down at the range lows. Okay, but effectively all you've got is you've got a range and you've got a bigger range. Okay, what you want to see is you want to see this breakout and continue. Okay, if you are bullish on the asset. So that'll be the plans. Quite simple. Actually, quite a nice chart to read, is that? Finally, ETH. Now, as you guys know, been watching us for a while, we're still holding longs from down in this zone here. This was a setup that we gave to the members on one of our morning updates. And obviously, we're continuing up. Now, we didn't see any form of pullback after passing this zone here. We're still pointing upwards, still looking relatively strong. However, we can't rule it out. If we do start to meander back below this and show some weakness, then we can look for some more downside. Okay. Let's talk about upside first. So first and foremost, fib, ultimate high to ultimate low. See here, we're above this 707, we've got the 786 just above us. Okay, I'm going to throw this onto the weekly to make this a little bit easier to view. Okay, I'm also going to do a volume profile on this whole top section of the chart to see where the volume is. So we're outside of value area high. Okay, that's a good thing if you are a bull. We'll get rid of this now. So for me here, very similar to what we explained on Bitcoin, if we can start getting above this 4K level, which is the 786, and start to reclaim this, then, and at that point then, we can then start to contest the all-time highs and we start looking at 5K plus. Okay, but we need to flip this zone here first. Now, ETH really does like the round numbers. So for example, the 3K, we had a bit of a pullback. Next one will be 4K. So if we can flip 4K, then we can start talking about higher prices. But 4K is a major sticky zone. We need to be very aware of this. Now, what happens if we start to break down? Whether that's a push up first, then a breakdown, or we just start to break down from where we are right now. Well, this is where things get a little bit more fun. Okay, so bear in mind this daily being up only. Not lost any structure, just up only, but it's relatively thin. Okay, so if we are to maintain this uptrend, what we can look at here is using this major pivot up to where we currently are here. We can see here the golden pockets here. Now, if we also throw on a volume profile within this, you can see we've got the point of control here, but effectively this whole zone is quite a high volume area. Okay, high volume nodes all the way across the board. So if we do start to come down, this would look quite tragic, and people would be scared. If we came down all this way into this golden pocket here, this zone, people would be calling for brand new lows, bear market, whatever crap you'll see on YouTube and Twitter. Okay, but bear in mind, price can come all the way down to this zone here and still maintain its uptrend. So price can drop based on where we are right now down to here 30%, 35%, still maintain high highs, high lows, high highs, high lows, high highs, high lows, high highs. Still do that. Okay, wouldn't be my preference, don't get me wrong, but it can still do that. It could even come back down and wick into the old range highs and continue moving up. However, that would need to be a fairly fast wick, otherwise you do start talking about losing some structure. But the structure's still up. Okay, trade with the trend. Longs are in play. Would I be longing right here where we are now on a high time frame? No. Why would you? When you've got that 4K zone, that 786 just above you, wouldn't be longing there. But I'm curious to see how price plays out once it comes into that zone here. Start getting a pullback, great. If not, start looking at higher. Okay. And that's it. That wraps up. So obviously, if you've liked today's content, hit that like button. If you're not subscribed, consider subscribing. And until next time, gang, as you were. Bye-bye.